Welcome to day 28 of the Hero Podcast, here with me, Superman. Today I have just had one of those days, okay? One of those days when everything just seems to annoy you. People annoy you, the things that are going on Facebook annoy you, or YouTube, comments directed to you annoy you, and you just have had enough, okay? So what I'm going to be speaking to you about in this podcast is how to deal with negative, angry emotions, and also how to react to someone who has these angry, negative emotions. Okay? So, today a few things have annoyed me. Alright? A few things have annoyed me. I had a really good day with my son because it's half term in the UK, and half term is where parents try and get some time off to spend with their son. And today was one of those days for me. Today was a day when I spent time with my son. I took him swimming, I took him for lunch after that, and then brought him home. Alright? And but up to the point that I took him home, I was in a good mood. And then all of a sudden, it just went from good to bad. Okay? One little thing triggers it. Okay? One little thing triggered it. An argument triggers sometimes a really bad attitude, a real turnaround in emotions. You can go from happy to upset very quickly. Okay? And that happened to me today. And it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just one argument. It was then me going on Facebook and seeing a stupid comment that somebody put, and a few other factors that just kind of sent the day from one really good day to all of a sudden a range of negative things happening. And how do you deal with that? So, in the moment, I know that I have had situations in the past where I have gone angry in the heat of the moment with somebody, okay? They've said something that's upset me, something that's annoyed me, they've asked me to do something, and I say to them, oh, I can't do it right now, I'll do it later, and then they just don't shut up, and they say, I need you to do it, I need you to do it, and all you want to do is say, I can't do it! Listen to me, I can't do it! And then they push you, and then they push you, and then all of a sudden you erupt. All of a sudden, you turn into the worst version of yourself. You start shouting, you say horrible and nasty, offensive things to that person because at the time, you get so wound up and annoyed that you can't help yourself. You just can't help yourself. The emotions just get too much and you say something you'll regret. And what happens is that you are going through in your head, you're going through, I'm going to say something I can regret. I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. But because the situation has reached boiling point, you kind of think, you know what? You deserve to hear some home truths. And then you just go for it. You just go for it. You throw in the kitchen sink. You really just go for it and say everything offensive to that person because you are peed off in that moment. What happens is then eventually you calm down and you have ruined relations with that person. Now this has happened between me and friends, it's happened between me and family members before, and what happens is you've got this period afterwards where you've still got the lingering feelings and sentiments from the argument, and you ignore them, you don't want to talk to them, and sometimes you're too embarrassed to talk to them because of the things that you said. Okay, and then you kind of think to yourself, had I been more rational, in my thinking at the time, I probably wouldn't have said that. But the one thing that people, they say, that you should do, people say this everywhere, they say, walk away. Yeah, a person wants you to react, they want to get you down, walk away. But sometimes you just can't walk away, can you? You just can't. You just can't let it lie. You've got to say something because your blood is boiling to the point that you've just got to let it out. You've got to tell them how you feel because if you don't tell them, they're never going to know. And sometimes you feel that if you just tell them how you feel, then actually they might understand not to push you. Okay, so sometimes you feel like you've got to say certain things. Okay, and that is what happened to me today. I couldn't help myself. Okay, I had an argument and at the time I thought, just walk away, just walk away. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. I felt a magnet drawing me to just say what I thought and to be really offensive and nasty. Okay, and you can probably imagine that by the passion I'm talking with now, exactly how I probably sound when I'm peed off at somebody. Okay, now I couldn't help myself and I just jumped in and had a go back. Okay, but what I then actually did was I did walk away. Okay, I said a few things, I swore quite a few times, and there was definitely raised voices, but I did walk away. But that's not the way to deal with it, because I walked away, I drove back home, and I felt myself seething. I felt like I have to get it out somehow, because otherwise the feelings are just going to stay there for a while. And I certainly know that, yeah, I will eventually calm down, but the horrible feeling that you have for about an hour, maybe 2 hours after an argument, is that you have these boiling feelings you just really want to get out, okay? And the way to deal with that is how you deal with any issue in life. Whether you've got alcohol problems, drug problems, you know, any problems, okay? Smoking problems, any problems. Overweight issues, any problems. The way to deal with that is to chat to somebody. Is to have a community of people you can just chat and vent to. Okay, that's why alcoholics have Alcoholics Anonymous. Because they sit in a group and they chat about their feelings. They say how they felt. You know, in some cases when an alcoholic has been driven to the depths of despair and they just have to get it out, they can do that in Alcoholics Anonymous. They can say how they felt, tell the other person, the other people just listen. They just listen. They don't jump in with an opinion. They don't jump in with advice and say, oh, you know, you shouldn't have done that, or you should do that. You know, they don't say that. What they do is they just listen and let the person vent. And that is the way to deal with anger or addiction or anything. But in this case, anger. The way to deal with it is to vent out. You've got to vent it out, and you've got to tell people. You've just got to tell someone and have that person just listen. Okay, because I'm a person that works, you know, I'm a person that helps people with these feelings, okay? I'm a person who helps people with issues, helps people that need somebody to listen to. And we all need it. We all need it. Just because I listen to people and help them out and lend an ear so somebody can vent out, that doesn't mean I don't feel these emotions myself. It doesn't mean I'm a saint. It doesn't mean I'm a perfect human being. You just have to listen. Anybody can do it. It doesn't matter how horrible a person you may be in the heat of an argument, you still got the capability to listen. So, as a person who is angry, the best way to deal with that is to vent. Just to literally say everything you're feeling. Because what happens is that I suppose your emotions are like a tumble dryer. That's what happens. Your emotions become a tumble dryer. You've got all of the clothes that are just circling about, jumbling about. They're jumbled clothes. Everything is everywhere. Everything is disorganized. Everything is messed up. Okay? And the whole process of venting is taking the clothes out of the tumble dryer once they have dried. Okay? The clothes have dried. You take it out of the tumble dryer. You fold it and you put it down. You get another item of clothing. You fold it. You neatly present it. You put it on top. And that is the same process of venting. Venting when you're angry. You are getting all of these emotions. You're folding them up. And you're putting them down. You're organising your emotions so that by the end of the session, once you have finished venting, you have got all the clothes, which were your emotions, nice and neatly stacked on top of each other, and it's easier to manage. All of a sudden, you look at it and you think, I've done it. I've done it. I've vented. I have gotten all of that jumble of emotions out. I have neatly organised them, and now I can look to the future. And that's what you need to do. If you don't deal with your emotions, your negative, angry, passionately driven emotions, if you don't deal with them, then they are left like a tumble dryer's state of clothes, okay? They are disorganized, they're in a mess, and it won't actually be resolved until you have got everything out and neatly organised them. And that is what venting is. And that's why you need to vent. And that's why you need to be there when somebody is angry. Okay, this is what I have learned. And I watch TV shows and dramas and films, and you see it. You see one person angry, they're venting to somebody else, and that person has to just jump in with an opinion. Oh, you know, I wouldn't have done that, or you shouldn't do that, or I wouldn't have done that, and all this crap. And it does not help. It does not help to be feeling even worse when somebody jumps in with an opinion or some advice that they think is helping, but actually doesn't help at all. All it does is it gets in the way of the person venting actually being able to manage their emotions. So the best way to react to somebody who is going through negative emotions is just to sit and listen. Okay, a bit like what you're doing. You can't come in right now and say, oh, you know, Superman, maybe you should rethink how you argue in the future. Maybe you should rethink how you manage your emotions in the future. Nobody can come in and say that to me. You have got to listen to me vent. And that is exactly the same as how you should react to anybody venting at you. Say nothing and just allow them to vent. Allow them to come at you. Okay, it's a bit like a bull. Bull is angry. It's going to keep coming at you until it's too tired. Okay, now bullfighters eventually stick the knife in. But don't think about that. Think about a bull. You've got a very, very angry bull. You just need it to come at you and come at you and come at you until it's too tired and it can't do it anymore. And that is how to manage somebody with very negative emotions. Let them tell you everything. And just say, carry on, carry on. Keep going, keep going. Don't say, wouldn't have done that. Or, yeah, you were right to do that. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. Don't do that. Because what you may think that what you say is helping the situation, but actually you're hindering the situation. You know, people with suicidal thoughts, okay? People with suicidal thoughts, sometimes they don't feel they are able to actually vent or tell people about how they're feeling. Because they feel people are going to say, oh, you know, why would anybody commit suicide? Oh, you know, how would anything be bad enough that you would feel that suicide was the only option? Okay? Those things do not help. Okay? Those things make people who feel like committing suicide much worse. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to almost imagine you are not in any way emotionally connected to the person who has suicidal feelings. Now, you don't necessarily know if a person you know has suicidal feelings. You know, when a person needs you to just listen to them, listen to their problems, then you don't know, has that person got suicide on their mind? You know, does that person have suicidal thoughts? Might that person commit suicide? And it's best not to sometimes even think of it that way. But the best thing to do is just to let them tell you their problems. And tell you and just tell you and tell you. A lot of why people do eventually commit suicide is because they don't feel like the people they talk to are just letting them get their emotions out. You know, sometimes a person with suicidal thoughts just wants to tell you just how crap their life is. They just want to tell you that they don't see the light over there. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, you say, oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, things will always work out. Things work out for everybody. It doesn't work out for everybody. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, and the worst thing you could do is presume that a person will just come to a resolution of their feelings. Because some people do resolve their feelings by killing themselves. Okay, and the way to tackle that is just to let them vent at you. Okay, just to let them vent at you until there's no more. And what happens is that you've got a person then who is just feeling a lot better about themselves and about life because they've been allowed to just chat about how crap life is. Now, I'm not in that situation, but today I did have a situation where everything kind of went from positive to negative, and I felt like I just needed to vent, and that is what I am doing right now. And the best thing you can do for somebody like me, which you will encounter in your life, you'll have a mother, a father, a son, a sister, a friend, a best friend, you know, an acquaintance, somebody who has issues, okay? And a lot of people don't like to necessarily talk about their issues because of how vulnerable it makes them. Because they, they're having to tell you things that, exposes things about them. Let's just take, for example, a person that you ask, how are you today? Now, a person could be having the most dreadful of days, and they'll say, yeah, not bad, not bad. Because they don't want to have the uncomfortable, discussion where they're saying, you know what, today I had a rubbish day. Because they're frightened of somebody going, oh, oh, well, it's time I went, maybe we should chat about this over coffee sometime. And that is what they probably expect. They don't expect, and I think as human beings, when we say, how are you, we expect people to just say, fine, not bad. We don't really get the response where somebody says, you know what, I've had a rubbish week, I've had a rubbish month, I've had a rubbish life. Okay, we never expect that, but the people who we ask, how are you to, they probably want to say that. But because of society and how it is, and because of how people are, and because in this day and age with social media and things happening very quickly, we sometimes don't have the time to listen to people. And so when you ask somebody, how are you, they probably really want to bend your ear for, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes 3 hours. Doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is that when you ask somebody, how are you, sometimes they don't just want to say, I'm fine, I've had a good day, or rubbish. They want to tell you everything. And the best thing you can do is listen to that person. So if they say, yeah, not bad, I was like, you know what, I've had a rubbish day. And it will encourage people to open up to you, because then they realise that the barriers are broken and they don't feel so vulnerable. If somebody says to me, an acquaintance who doesn't necessarily know me all that well, and says to me, how are you? I would feel exposed saying, yeah, not very well. No, I've just had a rubbish argument and I feel like crap right now and I just need somebody to talk to. I wouldn't like to expose myself like that and be vulnerable because, that person might think, oh, he's not very stable. Oh, he's not got his emotions together. But the thing is, we all have issues. We all do. How we deal with them may be different, but we all do have issues. There's no one that has the perfect life. And if you have a perfect life, that's fantastic. But a lot of people don't have a perfect life. A lot of people are disenfranchised with what's going on in the world right now, with politics, with society, with how things are going generally, with the general way of the world. How things are changing. How people feel less listened to than ever. Even though we've got more avenues now to be heard, we actually feel less listened to. Because everybody's on these things, Facebook and all that. And, and people don't necessarily feel that they can open up. So the best thing that you can do today is just to listen to people. And when you ask how they are, and they don't look that happy about it, just ask them. Just say, is everything okay? Just ask them that. And if they say, yeah, everything is okay, yep, then you've done your duty. But sometimes just asking that extra question, are you all right? Are you sure? I'm here to chat. If you want to have a chat about something, chat with me. And that is sometimes the most magical words you could hear from a friend. But most of the time, you don't think your friend wants to say that. And sometimes the friend doesn't even know how to say it. But sometimes being a friend is just being there to listen to. And I think one of the things that prevents people from really truly opening up is because they don't feel people will just listen. They feel people will judge, offer advice, maybe even condemn how they're feeling, and so they don't open up. So the best thing that you could do is just listen. Just listen. Even when they're talking to you and you think, I could probably offer some advice there, don't. Because there's every likelihood that advice would be wrong or the advice would not be helpful. So the most important thing you can do is just listen. Just listen. Just sit there and listen and let them unload. Unload those clothes and fold them up and put them down neatly so that they've managed it. They've come to some sort of resolution. So that at the end of the process, they feel much happier and they feel much more able to deal with life. Because when your emotions are all jumbled up, it can affect everything. So for instance, I was on Facebook earlier and I saw somebody say, oh, is anybody still doing the whole pump and dump stuff on cryptocurrency? Is cryptocurrency even a thing? You know, why do people do this cryptocurrency bullcrap? All they're going to do is lose their money, right? And I saw this whilst I was in a negative mood. And the first thing I felt like doing is responding and saying, why don't you shut your mouth? You don't know what the hell you're talking about. That is what happens when you are angry and your emotions are clouding your rationality, I suppose. Because you don't think of an intellectual response. You don't think of a measured response. You're deep in anger. And when you see something like that, you just want to let them have it. There's been plenty of times on social media when my emotions are boiling. My blood is boiling. And I just want to let them have it. And that Facebook post, I really wanted to let them have it. Because if you look at Digibyte right now, it's double where it was a week ago. It's double where it was, you know, a week ago, even 5 days ago. 5 days ago, this was in the 400s. It's now in the 900s today. And going up and up and up and up and up. Okay, so for somebody to say that this game's a load of crap, to me, I think that person is a blinkered idiot. And not only that, but I know that this person is involved in stuff that is not a money maker, involved in stuff that was current about 10 years ago, is involved in stuff that is not relevant anymore. And simply because of his blinkered opinion, he casts this kind of, I suppose, sentiment on anybody involved in the cryptocurrency game. The cryptocurrency game is a bloody good game. Okay, and I don't give a crap what anybody says about it. But you can already see how emotions can cloud your judgment. So you just need somebody to vent at. And you need to be somebody, if somebody's venting at you, to just allow them to take their emotions, their clothes out of that tumble dryer that are all jumbled up and messed up, and just get it out, fold it nicely, put it down neatly, and come to a resolution. And that way, that person for the rest of the day won't have those emotions bubbling when they see something on social media, when they see something on the TV. So I hope that this has, I suppose, encouraged and inspired you to be a better listener, and also given you an avenue to explore when you are peed off. Because when you're peed off, sometimes you just need a way of offloading all of that. Because otherwise, it's just going to annoy you, it's going to bubble up and affect the rest of your day. And what happens in horrible instances is that people get something like this happening to them at the beginning of the day. Okay, the first thing that happens to them at the beginning of the day is something negative, and then for the rest of that day, they are destroyed, they can't think properly, they can't act properly. And looking at it from an objective point of view, if you were a person who had to go to work that day, you had a stressful meeting, and then you had a meeting with your boss afterwards, okay? Let's say you had a horrible instance in the morning that just made you peed off, really peed off, okay? And then that person, well, let's say you, if you are that person, you know, you haven't had an opportunity to vent and get those emotions out and nicely package them so you can deal with the rest of your day. You've got them in you, okay? So when you have that meeting with your boss and they say something, maybe even the slightest criticism or, let's say, constructive feedback, where they say, oh, you know, I heard a report about this happening and, you know, you did it. And, you know, could you explain yourself? A rational person would say, yeah, just to explain what happened, this happened, and I may not have managed it very well, blah, blah, blah. But if you were peed off, and then they said to you, you know, what happened? You say, you know what, that person was a damn idiot, and I told them what I thought. What would your boss think of you then? So the best thing that can happen is that before you are, let's say something bad happens to you, or something makes your emotions flare up, best thing you could do is just vent off at somebody, anybody, your wife, your father, your mother, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, your best friend's brother's nice friend. Doesn't matter, whatever. but you just need to vent off at somebody, because otherwise it could spoil your day and it could have lasting repercussions. And this is how some people get to the horrible stage in their life where they feel like they want to end it. So I hope that now today you feel like you're a better listener. You've listened to me, so you've passed stage 1. If you can do it for me, you can do it for anybody. And also, if you are feeling annoyed, vent. Vent is healthy. People say it's not healthy. It's healthy. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you in day 29.